it just keeps pushing you in the back of your seat so that we're not wasting any time. In going fast. Hey crew, I've got the keys to this pair of forced induction V8 super sedans. From America, we have my 23 Cadillac CT5 Blackwing. And from Germany, we have this 23 BMW M5 Competition. We are going to take them for a drive, but first, let's check out how they look on the inside and outside. Starting with the M5, with all its gloss black for the grille accents, lots of functional ventilation, projector LED headlights, LED DRLs and turn signals. It is clad in an Aegean blue metallic, and I love my blue, but this color is so much richer. It looks black in shadow, and then that sun hits it, the metallic flake pops at you. You understand why it's a $5,000 paint job. At the side, we find a set of 20-inch lightweight alloy wheels wrapped in Pirelli P0 tires, 275 section front and 285 at the rear. Within those are gold painted calipers for the carbon ceramic brake option. There's gloss black for the badge, mirror caps, and window trim. Stepping back to look at the profile, the M5 Competition is about 2 inches longer than my CT5 Blackwing, with a 1.5 inch longer wheelbase. And so I think this sedan looks more elegant and refined than my car. At the back is a gloss black lip spoiler, darkened LED taillights, gloss black diffuser, and 4 blacked out exhaust ports. Moving over to the Blackwing. With its satin graphite finished 19-inch wheels wrapped in Michelin Pilot Sport 4S tires, 275 section front and 305 at the rear, they're red painted calipers for the optional carbon ceramic brakes. There's carbon fiber for the side sill, and though there isn't carbon fiber for its roof like you get as standard in the M5 Competition, we do have some additional carbon fiber pieces that I've optioned on, including the pronounced lip spoiler here and the diffuser wrapping over 4 exhaust outlets. There are darkened LED taillight housings. And moving to the profile, both of these sedans have a cab rearward design, emphasizing the rear drive dynamics, though of course the CT5 Blackwing is the only exclusively rear-wheel drive sedan of the pair. At the front, the Blackwing gets LED reflector headlights with LED DRLs and turn signals. There's a good deal of functional cooling, carbon fiber for this accent at the top of the grille, and for this jutting front splitter, and I do like all these carbon fiber pieces. I know it brings up the price tag, but this vehicle as shown is still about 13 grand less expensive than that M5 Competition without much carbon fiber. So which do you think is a better looking sedan? Do you prefer the menace of the CT5 Blackwing or the panache of the M5 Competition? Let me know in the comments, and let's check out their interiors next. Opening up and looking inside at this Aragon brown full merino leather interior with a suede wrapped headliner, these tricolor accented seat belts, perforated rear seats with heating available as an option. There are sunshades. You get 2 tones of the leather here with this metal looking plastic trim. You can see some of the ambient lighting here. Harman Kardon sound system is standard. Injection molding is down low. Stepping in behind my own seat at 6 feet tall, I've got a good portion of legroom, nice foot pockets to slide my feet under, thigh support is decent, headroom is excellent. I've got plenty of that gets the thumbs up from me. We have 2 air vents in the middle along with a 4-zone climate control system and 2 USB-C ports plus a DC outlet. The drive shaft hump is big, but you can overcome it to sit in the middle seat with headroom once again. If you don't have a middle passenger, then there's an armrest that comes down with deploying cup holders and a leather padded armrest. Let's check out the front. Door close noise is solid, and we have smart keyless entry for the rear and front doors. The front seats are more heavily bolstered than the back, with thigh extensions, adjusting side supports, these giant winglets for your shoulders, and illuminating M5 logos. Front seats are also heated and ventilated with massage, thanks to that executive package. The front doors look the same as the back. We add 2-position memory for the driver's seat and power adjusting and power folding door mirrors. Press down on this button to raise up the power operated trunk lid and find a generous 19 cubic feet of space that you can expand by pulling on these two tabs and folding down those rear seats 40, 20, 40. There's also a power close and lock button on the trunk lid. And as we get into the driver's seat, we find a thickly padded leather wrap steering wheel with an M tricolor stitching on the inside, reconfigurable M buttons in red, plasticky feeling paddles on the back of the wheel, power adjusting steering column with lots of different settings for you, reconfigurable digital instrument cluster, head-up display, stitched leather up on the dashboard, 12-inch touchscreen infotainment system that's not running the latest iDrive software, but it's still pretty responsive, and has wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Beneath the screen is a volume knob and HVAC controls, and under that we find more of that metal-looking trim with a wireless charging pad and USB-A port, plus a DC outlet. Gear selector is here, drive settings amidst all of this gloss black that is quickly collecting dust. Dial to control the infotainment if you don't want to touch the screen. Under the console, which is leather-topped, we have only a little bit of storage with a USB-C port. Visibility is stellar, and you've got standard blind spot monitoring with rear cross traffic. This cabin color is fabulous. The space and amenities for rear passengers are great. The tech is solid. I don't know, that CT5 Blackwing is going to have a lot of work to beat this. Opening up and looking inside at this black semi-aniline leather seating with a suede wrapped roof, red accented seat belts, seat perforations with red contrast stitching, no rear seat heating. On the doors we find leather, gloss carbon fiber, suede accenting, more leather for padding in your armrest, and hard plastics down low. Plus there's an AKG sound system. Stepping in, behind my own seat at 6 feet tall, I've got a good amount of leg room behind these carbon bucket seats. The foot pockets are narrow to slide my feet under. Thigh support is okay. Headroom, my head is resting against the roof with it back on the headrest, so it's gonna get one of these from me. There are air vents in the middle and one USB-C port, but no climate controls, and again, just one port. That's a bummer. The draft shaft dump is big, but you can get over it. The real problem, though, is that my head is now pressed against the roof. If you don't have a middle passenger, then there's an armrest that comes down with cup holders and leather padding. Let's check out the front. Door close noise is extra solid. And now there's no smart keyless entry for the rear doors, but you do have it for the fronts. The front seats are heavily bolstered with thigh extensions, adjusting side bolsters, pass-throughs for a racing harness, heating and ventilation, plus a lumbar massage. On the front doors, same materials as the back. We do add memory for the driver's seat, power adjusting and power folding door mirrors. Press that button to pop up the trunk lid, though it is not power operated. And inside we find comparatively little space, just 12 cubic feet of space. And if you want to expand that, you're gonna have to go around, open the rear doors, and pull on some tabs to lower those seats 60-40. There's no power close or lock for the trunk lid, just a handle to pull it down. And as we move into the driver's seat, I'll tab the button once to put us in accessory mode, though I did kill the cool animation, and find a suede wrap steering wheel, perfect thickness in the hands, some gloss carbon fiber down here. We have a digital instrument cluster that is reconfigurable, stitched leather up on the dashboard, head-up display, and a 10-inch touchscreen infotainment system. That's not as big as the BMW, but it is quicker to respond, and it does have wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. You see it showing up there. As on cue, we have a physical volume knob and tuner, then lots of buttons for your HVAC controls. And then below that, we've got a wireless smartphone charging pad, lots of gloss carbon fiber here on the console, much prefer this to gloss black, suede wrapping for your 6-speed manual gear selector, and under the leather-topped console cover we have, like in the M5, just a little bit of storage with 2 USB ports, 1A, 1C. Unlike in the M5, there is a digital rearview mirror when the vehicle's on, and that helps with visibility, which is good because naked eye visibility is not as good as in the M5. There is standard blind spot monitoring with rear cross traffic as well. The semi-aniline leather feels great to the touch. The black is more subdued than the brown of the M5. Love the red accents. The sporty details like the gloss carbon fiber and the suede wrapping really spice things up. The tech is right on par. The rear passenger accommodations, though, not as spacious, not as nice in terms of amenities. Now we're going to hop back to that M5 Competition to take that first for a drive. All right, let's fire it up. At least from within the cabin, that's pretty subdued, but on the exterior, makes a good bit of noise on startup. All right, for our drive selection, I'm gonna hit the setup button here and bring up all of these configurations. We're gonna start with the engine in efficient, the chassis and steering in comfort, and the active all-wheel drive system in full all-wheel drive. And then to go into reverse, click over and up on the gear selector. That brings up a high-resolution backup camera with a bird's eye view off to the right. We can scan around the entire exterior of the vehicle. No gesture control equipped to this model. And I'm going to use the backup assist feature, where it will do the steering for us, and I just kind of work the throttle and brake. It will take us out of the space in the exact same path we used to get into the space. And when it concludes, I can go into drive and set on out. We'll start off with a turning radius test. Cranking the wheel. That's very good. It's a tight turning radius. Turn signal sound is next. A light tapping on your door. I'm into it. What about the world famous horn test? Dignified. Now to discuss the powertrain. 4.4 liter twin turbocharged V8 here. In the competition grade, it makes 617 horsepower and 553 pound-feet of torque. That is routed through a torque converter 8-speed automatic gearbox and sent to all 4 tires, though at your discretion, you could have it sent to just the rear tires. The brake pedal is easy to adjust and bring yourself up to a smooth stop. And in efficient mode, it slackens the throttle response, though at no point in time do you feel like the M5 Competition could not get you quickly up to speed. And you can just feather that throttle to maintain your momentum. The ride quality in the M5 Competition, with these adaptive dampers, it's a touch on the firm side. I'm bounced around a bit more than I'd like in my seat, and when you go over some particularly aggressive imperfections in the road, it does rattle you, and you hear those imperfections, and that disrupts your comfort. The seats, however, do their best to counteract the suspension because they're very ergonomic. There's tons of adjustability. I can adjust the side bolsters, I can adjust the thigh extensions. The padding is just right and pleasant. And so I'm more at ease than tense behind the wheel of this sedan. And the hush inside this cabin emphasizes that relaxation. Even as the speeds pick up, you can sense the build quality here. They keep the cabin muted. And so there's just a brush of wind noise, a little hum of tire noise, but nothing that is going to obstruct your moment of zen while commuting to and from work. Even the V8, it's mellow in the background. At least for as long as you want to keep it mellow, because if you want to have more fun behind the wheel, the M5 Competition will match your enthusiasm. To that end, let's mess with these settings a bit. Sport Plus for the engine, Sport for the chassis, Sport for the steering. I'll hit the traction button once to allow all-wheel drive Sport, or they call it four-wheel drive Sport, and then I'll increase the shift logic to 3 for improved responsiveness, and just go ahead and put my foot Oh, it's deceiving. It builds so nicely, and then you realize the speeds you're achieving, and you feel the G-force not let up as you're accelerating harder. The car does not give. It just keeps pushing you in the back of your seat. That is insane power. I have trouble believing the spec of 617 horsepower at the crank. That's got to be at the wheels. There's just no way. And the V8 engine has come alive as well. And I suppose we should try manual mode. And to do that, we click over the selector once more to the right, pull on these paddles. Oh, and furthermore, I'm going to hit the M mode button. That's going to put the tachometer right there at the center of the gauge cluster and allow me to see the quick shifts. All in that overrun. The gear changes are sharp. They're not lightning quick like a dual clutch, but they're quick enough. And I love this sound. Oh my gosh. And the velocity! Mother of pearl. The way you accelerate is almost unnatural. And yet in the M5 competition, these speeds feel very natural. The car just settles in at this pace that makes sense because it was designed for German autobahns where speed limits just aren't a thing. And I should explain that four-wheel drive sport gives us a rear-biased all-wheel drive system, and so in combination with the limited slip differential in the rear, my goodness, these carbon ceramic brakes, watch out for the water, we can really rotate this sedan while having the grip on the front end from the all-wheel drive system. And so with this drivetrain setup, it's like best of both worlds. You have the playfulness of a rear bias, but you have this confidence of all-wheel drive grip and these carbon ceramic brakes and lightning quick steering only enhance that. This is an animal that is yet to show us all of its tricks, including launch control. We're going to do that now. I've got all my settings needed programmed into M1. We've got a race box set up here, and now I'm just going to hold my foot hard on the brake, pin the throttle, build up the revs, let it go. Oh my! 2.97 seconds to 60? Are you kidding me? There wasn't a breath of hesitation. We just catapulted forward. 2.97. The transformation of the M5 Comp from casual commuter moments ago to this now weaponized sedan is mind-blowing. And now we need to switch into the CT5V Blackwing to see just how my super sedan compares. All right, let's fire up the Blackwing now. It's a bit more theatrical of an opening. Hear the trumpeting exhaust, get the animation on the gauge cluster, digital rearview mirror is going, and I want to show you this one feature before we do anything else. It's called the video recorder, and it is effectively a built-in dash camera front, rear, and side views that you can set to just run when you start the vehicle, and so you don't have to install anything in your car. You have this going for you, so if there's an incident, you can reference the footage. I love that feature. Our drive mode is selected here, and we should begin in Tour, which is everything in the most comfortable settings except for engine/shift is up 1, and engine sound is up just 1. To go into reverse, push over to the right and push up, and that brings up a very high resolution backup camera as opposed to the just high resolution camera in the M5. Lots of different angles to choose from here. Just no 3D projection like you get in the M5, and no backup assist. I'm going to have to turn the wheel myself. I'm also going to have to shift my own gears in this car. Jeez. Over and up for first. And we'll begin with a turning radius test. Fully cranked. And certainly a wider turning circle than in that M5. I really don't like the turning radius in my Blackwing. Turn signal sound. This is a gentle knock. It's good for me. And the world famous horn test. Okay. It's just so sensitive. I forget every time how sensitive this horn is. I just brush upon the airbag cover and the horn goes off. Powertrain in the CT5V Blackwing. It's a doozy. 6.2 liter supercharged V8 that makes 668 horsepower and 659 pound-feet of torque. That is routed through your choice of a 6-speed manual, as we have here, or a 10-speed automatic gearbox sent to just the rear tires. Now, obviously, I chose the 6-speed manual, and I did so because this package, manual engine, rear drive, and a full-size sedan with a V8 is just not being done anymore, and indeed, in the future, we're just not going to see it again. So I wanted that, and knowing this is a Tremec 6-speed manual, it's a great gearbox. I'm going to make this light. I chose this option. I know the 10-speed is there and it's a fine automatic, but I wanted engagement, and that's what I get in this car. And the gearbox is so easy to operate that it's not a labor to just use day in and day out. In addition to the ease at which you can row your own gears, the ride quality from this magnetic ride control damper system is phenomenal. I have to emphasize that word, because when I get out of that M5 Competition, which rides much more firmly, and I hop into this feels like a true historical Cadillac. It's just very relaxed in the ride, and the seat comfort is just as good as those M5 seats, and so the comfort formula here is just better than in that M5. In this tour drive mode, power delivery is fluid. You can gracefully make your way up to speed and then carry that speed. When you do have to get on the brake pedal, it's a cinch to modulate that and come up to smooth stops. As the speeds pick up, the cabin stays pleasantly quiet, just as quiet as in that M5. Same deal with just a brush of wind noise, a little bit of tire hum, and tranquility takes over, which is just what you want from your morning commute. And while we don't hear that V8 much right here in Tour, I can make it even quieter by going into the My Mode setting, which is your reconfigurable mode, the same way you've got the BMW M modes. I set the engine sound to stealth. And now it makes barely more than a peep. Now, if you grow tired of being quiet and by contrast want to make a lot of noise, you can do so easily. Just hit the V button on your wheel, which is also customizable as we see here, and either rev match yourself as you downshift or hit the rev match button to auto blip the throttle. I'm still doing it myself. And prepare for fun. And a no-lift shift, meaning I get to keep my right foot pinned on the throttle as I engage the clutch, as I shift the gear, so that we're not wasting any time. In going fast, the power, like the M5, builds in a linear way. I don't know if it feels quite as fast though. It's very close, and on paper the power output of this vehicle should be higher, but that M5 accelerated in a way that felt otherworldly. And while this is real quick, like real quick, the M5 might be faster, and that's hard for me to admit because I bought this car. Thankfully, as I said, it's very fast. And fast isn't the whole story with the Blackwing. It's the fun of rowing your own gears. It's the thrill of rear drive and of no-lift shifts. It's how good this rear limited slip differential is in putting down the power. How great that V8 sounds on the downshifts. Let's slow it down. So much character to this motor. The only thing I'm missing, as I've said before, is supercharger whine, and I know I need to find an aftermarket intake so I can hear more of that. But at the very least, that throaty V8 is here. And the good becomes truly great when you find yourself a series of corners. Because in the Blackwing, though we don't have the all-wheel drive confidence of the M5, water with rear drive, see, gotta be more careful, we do have an incredible traction control system in this vehicle, and as I mentioned, that rear limited slip differential somehow gets the power down in situations it really shouldn't. Furthermore, while the steering may not be as quick in the Blackwing as it is in the M5, the resistance is more natural and the feedback is more palpable. And so I come away going, yeah, I feel like I can push this just as hard with carbon ceramic brakes that stop just as well. Alas, one thing I know will not be as mighty as the M5 is the 0 to 60 in the Blackwing. However, we at least have launch control, so if we activate the performance traction management into sport or one of the race options, then we're enabled to use launch feature. With my race box set up here, I'm just going to build up the revs with the clutch engaged, sidestep that clutch, and no lift shift to 0 to 60 in 4 seconds. So we're almost a full second off, actually more than a full second off the 0 to 60 time of that M5 competition. And that is the rear-wheel drive versus all-wheel drive picture in one simple test, over a second off to 60 for this rear drive Blackwing. But if you're not doing 0 to 60 sprints all the time, I think equally as impressive as that M5's launch to 60 is the way that this Blackwing can turn its power into velocity. It just gets it to the ground so well and fills the driver with confidence through the inputs that you're receiving in the wheel and through the chassis and that suspension system, whereas the M5 gives you the confidence of the all-wheel drive and its little inputs just at a softer level of communication. I love both sedans, but now we need to get into some specs and decide which one is best. First, let's talk about fuel economy and top speed for the M5 Competition. The MPG is rated at 15 in the city, 21 on the highway, and 17 combined, whereas the top speed is 190 miles per hour. And for the Blackwing, the fuel economy ratings are 13 MPG in the city, 21 on the highway, and just 15 combined, and the top speed is 205 miles per hour. The starting figure for the M5 Competition is about $117,000, and the one we have as tested is around 138 grand, whereas the CT5V Blackwing starts around $93,000, and this vehicle as tested is about $125,000. And so yes, you know the verdict I reached on these two sedans, because this is the one that I park in my garage. But let me explain why. It's not just because the CT5V Blackwing was less expensive than the M5 Competition. It's because the drive was more visceral and more involving to me. And so you're going to park this vehicle and the M5 Competition next to one another at a fancier restaurant. Someone's going to come out and go, yeah, that M5 Competition looks nicer. It looks more expensive. And indeed it is. But yes, indeed, it does look that way. Outside and in, it is more attractive. It looks like a nicer place to spend time. But then you start driving, and the ride quality of the CT5V Blackwing is so much better than that M5 Competition that I go, I'm happier living with this car day in and day out. And then when it's time for fun, when I want to go push it, it just rewards me over and over again. And so that's why the CT5V Blackwing earned my vote. But that's not to say that that M5 Competition isn't a blissful car to drive, isn't a completely polished product, and isn't worth the money for those of you who don't really care about the manual, who care more about a more versatile luxury sedan that can really kill it in the corners or on a weekend at the track. I hope you guys have enjoyed this review. Let me know in the comments which you would choose, CT5V Blackwing like me or M5 Competition. If you like this video, please like, comment, and share it. Subscribe to the channel, hit that bell to get notified, and I'll see you next time.